Feeling is something I value highly when playing or reviewing a game. The feeling of adventure in games such as Baldur's Gate, Skyrim, or The Witcher. This feeling of despair in games like Elden Ring or Silent Hill, or the feeling of excitement in games like Helldivers and Call of Duty. Feeling and emotion is key for games sticking in the memory of players for a long time. It separates the good games from the forgettable ones. And trust me, there's a lot of them. So I decided to sit down and play Astro Bot for a video. And I was surprised how masterfully this game captures multiple feelings and emotions without cheapening them, without them going stale, and making arguably one of the best games, if not the best game from anyone voting, of 2024. But I want to talk about how Astro Bot captures so many feelings perfectly. So grab your DualSense controller, your PS5, let's talk about a damn good video game. It's apparent from hour 1 to hour 15 that Team Asobi, the creators, have tried to invoke specific feelings and emotions from the player. The way that they do it is masterful. If I had to describe Astro Bot in 2 words, it would be pure joy. From the fantastic level design to the DualSense controller, each part of the Astro Bot experience gives me a specific feeling. It does this in a variety of ways. The vibrant colors of each world you visit feel uplifting, and in an industry where a large amount of the games are dark brown and gloomy, this is a welcome change. The uplifting visuals give you this feeling of happiness, joy, laughter, and I often found myself just smiling when playing this game, which, hey, I think we all need to do a little bit more often. It pretty much nails all of the fundamentals of a 3D platformer alongside those visuals. Incredibly tight controls that are reactive and feel wonderful to play. I can just say the word reactive as a buzzword and move on, but the game utilizes it to its advantage. And no other game that I've played since maybe the PS4 has used this to its fullest. You will move the controller around with motion, actually physically moving it in front of you with motion controls. Blow into the controller to activate a fan. Flip the bops up into the air when you rescue them to then do a little flip. Even down to using the controller to rebuild parts of the PS5 in certain sections of the game. There is a great deal of thought put into the game feeling interactable and like a toy in many ways. The great thing is, this was entirely intentional because on the Frames Per Second podcast, the game director at Team Asobi stated that they wanted the game to feel like you are interacting with a toy during your playthrough. Astro Bot then steps it up again when we add another 2 fundamentals that need to be in a 3D platformer. Amazing level design and interesting mechanics. Astro Bot is fairly simple. From start to finish, you will be navigating levels, collecting coins, saving bots, and basically beating a boss to win the day. Not too dissimilar of what we've seen before. It's got all of the genre hallmarks, especially a nod towards games such as Mario from the Masters Nintendo. But what Astro Bot does with its levels is evolve them throughout the game. Starting a level, you will get access to any number of backpacks that the game gives you, whether that's a rocket jump, time stop, monkey arms, boxing gloves, and a few others. But they can just simply discard that mechanic later on in the game and you'll never see it again. Or they will bring it back in later worlds and they'll throw even more surprises at you. You can go through levels starting on a flat plane, then moving to a vertical, then to a side scroller, and then you utilize all of that to make things challenging and in a skillful way. And then the game not only does that in terms of its level design, but also with the personality and the visual design on top. I mentioned challenge because with the progression of levels in this game, it makes even a seasoned gamer like myself sweat just a little bit and get frustrated with some of the hard challenges in the game. If anybody says to you that this is just a kid's game, they have not played the Lost Trials and the Master Trial that you get for completing all of the bots in the game. That shit had me sweating harder than some of the Dark Souls bosses I've faced. Each level also combines that reactiveness that I've spoken about and applies it to the level design as well. Every part of the level can be moved, shaken in ways, and something might happen, but it just reacts to what you're doing. There might be a bowl that fills up with a lot of metal pieces, and you can just run around and let the DualSense do reactionary things in your hands, and you can just let your dumb brain go, oh, shiny stuff, let me run around in it. It's so fun to mess around with the worlds that you're playing in, and encourage you to mess around with things is part of that design. They want you to go off the beaten path, and it will often lead to things like puzzle pieces or rescuing bots or a secret portal to another level that you can go to. It's simply fantastic. It captures the feeling of childlike wonder perfectly. When you would run home from school and turn on the newest game that you wanted to play, or when you were a lot younger and used to just sit in front of the big TV screen with your legs crossed, which I think oftentimes as adults we forget about this feeling because we've become cynical, jaded, and tired of the world. It plops you right into a 5 or 6 year old version of yourself and just simply says, go play, and that's the best part about it. Not to mention the soundtrack is absolutely killer here and perfectly fits in with everything else. And not to sound like a broken record, but it invokes the feeling of joy, happiness, excitement. And it's a really important part of many games that people miss. And one of my favorite songs is when you literally are climbing a massive tree in the game and he's singing to you as you play. I think it's called Papa Tree, the song. Go and listen to it on Spotify. It's awesome. Where Astro Bot truly stands out is that very personality I've talked about. And I think the other thing that really helps it here is that it captures that very thing many older gamers love, a juicy big hit of nostalgia. Astro Bot has this in boatloads considering it's attached to PlayStation. It will have any number of bots from past and present in the PlayStation Pantheon, from early platformers in the PS1 and PS2 days to the more modern day mainstays on the platform. The thing that makes it work here is that it doesn't cheapen the experience for the sake of that nostalgia. It understands what makes all of the games that it's imitating work. Take, for example, the Bot of War level, where you basically play as a Kratos version of Astro Bot. You have your axe, you have certain levels that are kind of the same, but it's all compacted into one thing. There's a lot of different gameplay mechanics that you see in God of War that you also see here, but it pays respect to them. It's just enough of a platforming spin-off to make them work so well, to add Astro Bot's personality into Bot of War, especially the soundtrack here, which I think is amazing. It's kind of a remixed version of the original God of War one, and I think it's 10 out of 10. I absolutely love it. You're building a PlayStation, you're saving PlayStation bots, there's levels designed around PlayStation like characters, and then the final encounter, the end part of the game, which I won't spoil too much, but you get to see a kind of a respect to all of the 30 years that we've had of PlayStation. And the remarkable thing here is that if you remove the PlayStation aspect from Astro Bot, I think it would stand on its own as an amazing game, but I think a lot of people would have probably missed it. Because it's PlayStation and because it's done so well, it also feels like they're paying respect to what a lot of people love about PlayStation. You've got Jak and Daxter here, you've got Ratchet and Clank, Ape Escape, even systems and eras that we've seen before. It's unabashedly PlayStation, and Team Asobi understands that. The most important thing, though, that Team Asobi understands with Astro Bot is you. They make you matter the most in this game. The levels don't react and change until you do something. The music does the same as well. It makes you feel like you are experiencing things at your own pace, and how you experience them is your own choice. And you could go through this game and not explore all the different secrets, but it's there. The playground is there for you to jump into. They have not only understood this, but they've mastered it and captured all of the things that I've said perfectly. I'll always bring that back up because I think they've done an insane job. Astro Bot is sensational, fully deserving of all the praise that it's received, and it definitely deserves a Game of the Year. It makes you feel like a kid again, and it's the type of game that you should be giving to your own children to play and experience for the first time. They're like introduction to games, I would say. Just listening to one of my family members jump with joy during the making of this video when they saw Astro Bot on my screen during my edit was something I think we need to see more of. Just people and kids being excited about different characters that they see on screen. Fully recommend that you play this. Kids, adults, whoever, just play this game because it's wonderfully made from a small team that wanted their game to be awesome. Astro Bot is a shining example of what games should be in the current climate. Passion, joy, and love are injected into every aspect of this game, but more importantly, putting the player in the spotlight. Focused on capturing that feeling of joy rather than sucking every dime and every dollar from the player. Will the industry take the right lesson from Astro Bot? I don't think they will, because now you're going to get publishers scrambling to force out another platformer that just is there for the sake of it rather than understanding the fundamental lesson that Astro Bot is, and it's just making a fun game that people want to play. All we can hope is that we get more games like Astro Bot in the future that are made with the same love and the same passion from developers all over the industry. I enjoyed the game. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. I really enjoyed making this video as well. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and as always, this has been It's Jimbo, and I'll see you guys next time.